All right, fellow homesteaders, so today we're going to be talking about firearms and which ones you need, which ones you don't need, and in my experience, which ones would be the best to have. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so the first one I want to talk about is a simple 22 long rifle. So it shoots a small caliber round, not a very loud bullet. It's great for pest control, great for pretty much anything up to a coyote. When it gets to coyote size and above, you really have to be careful with your shot placement. I would not recommend shooting deer with that. It's illegal in most places, if I'm not mistaken, to shoot a deer with a 22 long rifle. But I know of people who have shot and killed deer with them and been successful, so it's very versatile. It shoots really straight, it's really accurate, super common, super cheap. In my opinion, it's very difficult to beat this. It doesn't have any kick to it. You can sit there, a little kid can shoot this and learn to shoot it very accurately. Most people, the first gun they ever get is some kind of 22. For us, before I even moved out to the homestead, we bought a little 22 revolver. And even with that small of a gun, it had no kick whatsoever. It's just a really good gun to have, and in my opinion, it'd be my top choice as a starting out homesteader. If you haven't gotten into hunting big game yet, this is what you're gonna wanna get. So that's my assessment for that. This is a Rock Island Armory 22 AR, and it is really nice. I have a night vision scope on it right now. I usually don't. I usually have some kind of other scope or red dot on it, but I'm going to be using it for some coyote hunting tonight, and hopefully I'll get something. But it's nice. It holds at 0 on this scope right here. I tried putting this scope on my other AR, my AR-15, but every time I shoot it, it's not quite as secure as I'd like it to be, so it would move the 0 just a tiny amount and continuously keep doing that. With this one, I've probably put 30 rounds in while I was sighting it in. And once I got it sighted in, put another like 20 or 30, and it hasn't moved from there since. So it's really good, really stable. I don't have too many attachments on it. I have a simple little bipod that was real cheap, and it's been working great. So I highly recommend, if you're starting out with guns, start with some kind of 22 rifle. So the next thing I want to talk about is shotguns. So this right here is a Hatfield break barrel 12 gauge shotgun. Not a huge fan of this gun. It was really cheap. As you can see, it is cleared. The hammer is very tough to pull back. When I first did it, I thought it was locked in place or something because I was pulling pretty hard. And then the trigger is really hard. Pulling back the trigger guard to break the barrel is tough, and the whole thing is just very tight. This is not a gun that I really ever want to have to use. It would be good just to have a beater shotgun, but to be honest with you, I'm not seeing myself using this very often. They do have higher quality ones, but what I would recommend instead is something more like a pump action. This is a Mossberg Maverick 88. It is more of a home defense style shotgun. It holds 7 in the tube, 1 in the chamber. Most hunting shotguns only hold 3. I know in my area you have to have a plug to where you can only shoot, you can only have 3 shells in the gun at a time, and that's 2 in the tube, 1 in the chamber. So I have made a plug that fits in here to where I can use it for hunting, but this gun functions beautifully. I rarely have any problems with it. I know a lot of people have done like torture tests. It's very similar to the Mossberg 500s. It's just a little bit cheaper, and all around good gun for anything from pest control around the house to hunting to home defense, whatever. I'm not going to talk too much about home defense in this video. This is going to be more of taking care of animals and hunting and stuff rather than home defense. That'll be a talk for another time, but that one's really good. And then my personal favorite, this is the Garasar Fear 116. I just got this gun. Let me make sure it's clear. So this gun is a beast. So it's pretty bulky and heavy. It's an AR-12 style gun. It came with these pop-up sights, and honestly, I have been loving this gun. So it's also a 12 gauge, so you know, it's shooting a pretty nice thing. I'm not sure if you know the difference between the different gauges of shotgun, but a 12 gauge is one of those versatile ones. You got everything from bird shot to buckshot to slugs, and this one just functions beautifully. So it comes with 2 5-round mags, and then I plugged one of my mags, it's in the other room, to where it only holds 2. That way I can use this thing for hunting. Also, something I figured out was that the magazines can be used as a grip on front, and then you can replace it. But this thing is a beast. Shotguns are going to be your best friend whenever you're having some kind of homestead situation or a home defense situation, which I'm not gonna go too deep into that. But it's just, you can take out everything. You can take out the smallest bird all the way to a bear. So definitely a must-have. I put it almost like it's right there with the 22. The only reason I would say the 22 is a little better is because it's super user-friendly for starters. So it doesn't kick. This will kick. Depending on how heavy your shotgun is, depends on how hard it's going to kick. But it's got a little bit of punch behind it. Whereas the 22, you can sit there and fire that thing one-handed and not have hardly any kickback to it at all. Stop. All right, so now we're kind of stepping up into what you probably expected to see with this video, which is your rifle. So you want to have one rifle that can take down something around a deer size, depending on where you live. If you live in an area that doesn't have large game, then obviously you won't need this. But this is a AR-15. It's a Palmetto State Armory brand. It was a blemished rifle. I think it cost like $500 or something. And honestly, great deal. I just have a simple optic on here. It's like a ACOG with a red dot sight on the side. It's also got a little laser built into it. But the gun itself, most ARs are about the same. I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for that. You don't have to have the best brand. This gun has not jammed on me. It hasn't caused any problems. It's been a great gun, and it was dirt cheap compared to all the other ones. But and I've shot some other brands, and this one just, it's not the best, but you can upgrade the parts you don't like. But just as a comparison real quick, pop a bullet out here real quick. So this is what the AR-15 shoots. So a lot of people think it shoots like this massive bullet. An AR-15 shoots this small bullet. And if you're using it to hunt deer, you really need really good shot placement. It is allowed and legal here where I live. Some places I know it's not. But shot placement is key. I would honestly recommend this next one for deer hunting, which is a deer rifle or a bolt action deer rifle of some kind. You can get these in all kinds of different chambers. You can get it chambered in, this one's 30-06. You can get them in 308, 615 Creedmoor. Tons of different options for that. This one's just a Mossberg. I forget what brand it is, to be honest with you, but it's pretty nice. So just to show you the size difference real quick, this is the AR-15 round, and this is the 30-06. So much larger. You can see the actual projectile is a lot larger, a lot thicker, a lot more powder in the back, a lot louder, a lot more kick. The AR-15 doesn't kick hardly at all. It kicks a little more than 22, but a lot less than the 12 gauge. But the ammo for this is very expensive. So I would only ever use this for large game. Whereas the AR-15 is very straight shooting, very low kick, and I can use it for anything from coyotes up to deer. If I had to choose just one, I would probably choose the AR-15, only because the bolt action rifle, the 30-06, it's just a lot of bullet. And for the game that I would be taking, I don't have any like elk out here or anything huge. The biggest stuff we've got is like whitetail deer. And if I practice enough with this and get really good shot placement, ammo is going to be like a third as expensive. And it's just something that I can use for a lot of things. When you look at a homesteading gun, and the reason this is so far down the list instead of so far up is because you're not going to want to hunt squirrels with this. You can't hunt birds with this. You can't hunt a lot of like large game or a lot of small game. It's like really just in that middle zone. Whereas with a shotgun or a 22, you have like a wider range. So like a 22, you have from tiny stuff all the way up to medium, and also it's really cheap and stuff like that. And with the shotguns, you have everything from the smallest bird to, I'm sure they make loads that could take down something like an elephant size. All right, the last firearm I'm going to talk about is some kind of handgun. So the reason I'm talking about this, and this is a Bull Armory Cherokee. It's a brand I had never heard of. I found it in a pawn shop. The grip was immaculate on it. The magazine, I believe, holds 17 rounds, and it is just a beauty. Let me make sure it's clear. Yeah, it's just a nice gun. The reason I'm saying this is not for home defense, although it is good for home defense, but if you're going to be going out and foraging or going out in the woods and you want something you just stick on your hip, you don't want to have to be carrying around a rifle. Maybe you're going to be out foraging, so you're going to have a basket of something, or you're carrying buckets out. If you're pulling traps or something like that, then you're going to be carrying a big 5-gallon bucket. You want something that's at your side, that you can reach to, you can grab to take out a threat, whether that's a mountain lion, a bear, a coyote, a wolf, a snake, whatever. But you're going to want something that's out of the way, tucked out, that if you need it, it's there. Of course, you could always use something else, like a shotgun, a rifle, or something like that. But it's really nice to have a handgun just because it makes it so much more convenient. And then also there are self-defense applications as well. But if I'm going out fishing out in the woods, if I'm going hunting, if I'm going foraging, if I'm going out late at night to set out some coyote bait, I've got this thing strapped to my hip just because, yes, having a shotgun is great if you have the hands to hold it. Or if you have it on a strap or something like that, and that's great. But if you don't have an easy way to carry around a weapon, or if you're going out fishing and you just don't want to have this extra long barrel, then a nice handgun is going to be what you want. You're good. All right, so last thing I want to talk about is not a firearm, but an air rifle. So this is not considered a firearm by ATF standards. It is an air gun. So basically, this one's a PCP. It's a pre-charged pneumatic is what that stands for. And basically, it has a built-in air tank. You fill it up with a pump or a compressor, and then it holds some shots. That'll show you how much air you got. Basically, this is a beefed-up pellet gun. This can take out a lot of small game, and it is deadly silent. So why would you use this over a 22? Well, not everybody lives outside city limits. Some people still have pest problems when they're in an area where they can't shoot. Maybe they have neighbors that are too close, or neighbors that don't want the noise. So this thing is deadly silent. It shoots a 25 caliber pellet, and I've used it to take out possums, raccoons, squirrels, rabbits, you name it. Nothing huge, but it can take down some good prey. And it's not super expensive. It is a little bit more expensive than the actual 22 AR that I have, only because the 22 was on sale, this one was not. But this is a Hatson Flash Pup. I've just got this nice scope on it, and to be honest with you, it has functioned really well. It's something that I'm glad that I invested in, but I think if you're in an area where you can shoot, a 22 is probably going to beat it out every time. The ammo, 22 is a little bit more expensive than 25 caliber pellets, depending on where you shop. But I'd say ammo cost is roughly about the same. But this is a great thing to have if maybe you need to go do some pest control for somebody else, and you just need to be quiet. Or if you have multiple shots you got to take and you don't want to spook the animals, then this is definitely the way to go. It is a really nice addition to the Homestead tool collection. All right, so in conclusion, which gun would I choose if I could only have one? And it's kind of tough for me to say. I'd say it's probably the 22 with a shotgun in very, very close second. Depending on the situation would depend on which one I choose. So if it's just strictly what am I using for pest control around the farm or around the homestead or whatever, that's going to be the 22. You just get long range shots, it's quiet, you can do it with neighbors close by, ammo is dirt cheap. But if it's more of like a hunting thing, then I'm going with the 12 gauge shotgun. And out of my 12 gauge shotguns, I'd be going with the old Garrett. And this thing is probably my favorite gun. It kicks a little bit, not too bad, but it is fun to shoot. And so this guy right here is would probably be my pick if I'm thinking about hunting, home defense, and pest control. Where with this one, a close second. If it's strictly pest control, then I think this one would be the one that I choose. Now, when it comes to pricing, people think that guns cost way too much money. Out of all of these guns, the most expensive one is actually this handgun, which was, I believe, $350. No, I'm sorry, the AR-15 was $500, but the AR-15 was $500. This was $350. The deer rifle, I believe, was around $300 with the optic on it. The Hatfield break barrel was like $120. The Garrasar was $200. The Rock Island 22 was $200, and the Mossberg Maverick 88 was also $200. So for a fairly low price, you can get at least one of these guns, and then slowly, excuse me, and then slowly over time, you can kind of add to your collection. As you can see, I've kind of built up the collection. This isn't even all of my firearms. These are just the ones that I would recommend the most. But look at your situation and kind of take a look at what you're trying to do. Are you trying to get a gun that's going to hunt everything from pigeons all the way to bears? Well, get you a 12 gauge. If you're just looking for something for small pests, then maybe get a 22. If you're looking for something more in that middle range, get you an AR or something similar to that. If you're looking for just strictly large game, then you're going to want to get you a bolt action rifle, something like or maybe even an AR-10, but that's very expensive. So I'm kind of going over the cheaper options that you can take. So that's just my opinion as a homesteader of what I would choose if I was going to only be able to get one or two guns. And that's the order I would go in, is start with a 22, unless you're trying to get into hunting first, in which case I'd say start with a 12 gauge, and then move from there. If you start with a shotgun, get a 22 after that, and then worry about your rifles for larger game and stuff like that down the road. But everyone's going to be different. Your homestead's going to be different than mine, but that's just my humble opinion. So appreciate you guys for watching. I'll catch y'all guys next time, and as always, Jesus loves you, I love you, have a great day.